And we are live. Today on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs, we're going to be talking about overcoming self-sabotage and shining fully how God designed you to be. Today, our special guest, Jennie Potter. Imagine what it would feel like to be the person you were meant to be able to unwrap all of your gifts and to step into your best life. Today on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs, Jennie Potter is here to help us make that dream a reality. And as a future self-coach, faith-filled trainer in the network marketing space, and a published author and inspirational speaker, Jennie has had her own personal journey of transformation. She's overcome her own self-sabotage and the fear of strangers, public speaking, and general anxiety when it comes to the unknown. God called her to step out into her comfort zone and help others to do the same. So stay tuned. We'll be seeing you on the inside.
I love our intro. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh, those are ours.
Who are those people?
You're like a rock star.
The only one I don't like, Christina, is the one that you're like,
so serious.
You're so serious, and you always have this like big smile on your face, and you're like,
I know, but sometimes I gotta show people that I mean business.
That's girl boss there. Come on, let's go. So speaking of girl bosses, come on, Tina. Who's our special guest today? Who we got going on here?
Oh my gosh, let me just tell you, if you guys been watching our show for the last couple of months, you guys have heard us reference this amazing person, Jennie Potter. I have known her, oh my gosh, Jennie, like 15 years, maybe?
Back when you guys were
maybe a decade. Let's not go crazy.
Maybe, okay, so let's just say 10 years in a previous network marketing company. And about 2 years ago, her and I came about again because she was starting to help me. And for those of you guys who don't know my story and all that kind of stuff, she helped me like completely release all these love blocks that I had. Because, I was on a dating thing for a long time. And I had like the 99 worst first dates. Jennie,
that sounds like a book. That sounds like a good title for a book.
Let me just tell you, 99 worst first dates. And Jennie helped me kind of clear that out. And that has born Paco.
Awesome. Sounds like it's working then.
It is. Paco's working. He's working.
Some results there, and
I think he's a keeper.
He's such a keeper, and we love seeing your relationship bloom after knowing the hardships and knowing what you've been through. It's so lovely to see people come out on the other side. And I feel really lucky that I got to spend some time with Jennie. A couple of years ago, we were at a Ray Higdon event where I met her, and she was a speaker. I had a speaker badge, and I was not a speaker, and she was actually a speaker. And to listen to her command the room, know who she is, and be able to help people in a massive way. Because here's the thing, we all know that if we could just blow through this emotion stuff and blow through the self-sabotage, that we'd all be sitting at the top together having a drink, right? Like, cheers to us, right? But it's often that we need people in our corner that are going to help us see our blind spots, people that are going to help us release these things that are running in our subconscious. And Jennie is a master at that. I remember, Ray Higdon giving you an incredible testimony and be like, man, she can help Ray get through what he's gotten through. She can definitely help me. And man, the results that I had after working with Jennie were insane, right? Like, Jennie, I'm an open book. We can talk a little bit about it if you like, but I also, want you to tell people what you do. But when I released the emotions that were blocking what was basically my potential. I had videos go viral, had millions of views on these videos, had all of these people that were my dream clients, my dream demographic, my community that were in alignment with me. They all started showing up and booking calls with me, and we were having bigger conversations. I was like, these are the people I dreamed of building business with, and they're all right here. And I was blocking myself subconsciously to being open to that. And Jennie helped me move through those
I
things.
think so many people deal with that, Christina, like and I see it all the time. I don't feel like I'm worthy enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I can't charge this much. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to be a speaker at an event. I don't, all of these what ifs, and Jennie is going to help you. So if you guys are in that situation, imposter syndrome, there's something blocking, you don't know what it is. You can't get to that next level. You can't get to that next money level, whatever. Make sure you stay tuned, because Jennie is going to tell you a few tips and show you a few things that you can do through that as well. So welcome, Jennie. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with the world and with our tribe.
Wow. What an awesome introduction. I feel like a rock star. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I just love what each and every one of you are doing, and feel really honored to be here and share a little bit, and hopefully help somebody, that's watching get out of their own way. Because that's my obsession, is why do we consciously know what we want? And why do we we know we want to do the thing? I always use really simple examples. So let's just say you want to lose some weight. You want to go for a walk tomorrow and eat good. So the next day you eat a whole cake and you don't go for a walk. Why do we do that? When we know what to do to feel better, when we know that breath work helps, when we know that going to bed early helps, when we know that reaching out to a few people a day is powerful for our business, but we don't do that thing, whatever that thing is for you. This is what I got obsessed about. Why don't people do what they know feels good? Yeah. And so, hey, Kelly.
Yeah, I told you, you have a super fan.
This is your number one fan, Jennie.
You have a super fan in our household. We have pictures of me, the kids, and Jennie Potter on our mantle.
On the mantle.
Anyways, so go ahead, Jennie. Yes.
Yeah. So, I love that Tina shared that after we worked together, she found love, because it's a little bit like that when people, you get emotions around something. Maybe you had trauma in the past. Maybe you had a difficult relationship. Maybe you saw your parents have a difficult relationship. And so every time you think about being happy in a relationship, this old emotion pops up, and it's kind of like a survival technique of your subconscious. Your subconscious says, whoa, the last time we saw love happen, or the first time we saw a relationship, it didn't end well, or it hurt, or it didn't feel good. And so, then you subconsciously block, you're not open. So even though Tina's conscious mind was like, I want to find love, her subconscious was like protecting her, shielding her, blocking, doors locked. Like there was no room in there for love, because there was
no room.
So, and I know you're cool with me talking about it.
Yeah,
Tina,
sure.
but,
That's what we're all about.
Right.
Uncensored.
Some of my favorite testimonials are things like, I'm horseback riding again, or singing again, Christina.
Yeah.
Like really cool. Like we create these little blocks along the way, and then we just get in our own way. And if you can understand it's survival, it's your subconscious keeping you safe, then you can release and reset and step into a whole new life, whatever that goal is. For some people, they're really high functioning. Everyone on this call is high functioning, or on the show is high functioning. Lots of my clients are already at, levels of success, but they're feeling like they want to do more, or reach more, or expand more, or have a video go viral, or, expand their coaching group, or up their prices, or whatever the thing is. And so usually there's emotions and beliefs that are holding you back from doing that.
So Jennie, there was somebody out there who is listening, who is something is holding them back, whether it's, hitting that income goal, or stop procrastinating, or getting on the phone, or trying to lose weight, or whatever it is. what do you suggest that they do? Like, what would be like?
Go get her book. Go get her book.
Yeah,
and
go
read
get her
it
book.
twice. Like I couldn't
Mhm.
stop listening to it, and I played it again after I listened to it so I could take more notes. But go ahead,
Right?
Jenny.
I think I've literally read it like 3 or 4 times. I think it's one of those books, you know, like you read Think and Grow Rich like every year.
Yes.
I think it's like one of those books that you need to read every year because there's something like, okay, so I've already done my little love block, it's done. But now I have like this, and this. Like, you know, like, okay, love is done. Okay, Jenny, work on the next one for me.
Mhm.
So yes, you can. I mean, I believe with all books, you're going to, when you read them the second time or the third time, you physically, energetically, emotionally change. And so you're going to receive new information and see something in a new light or in a new way. So yeah, but you just need to read it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you read it again, that's great. I love
We're
hearing
gonna
that.
be
I'm just
overachievers
so
like
excited.
Christina and I.
Well, read and apply, right? Read and apply. And
That's
that's how
what it
you
is.
set up the book,
Yes.
Jenny, is that people read it and you've taught them some really cool techniques to be able to implement in their everyday life. It might not be like working one-on-one with you, which I also highly recommend, but having the book is just a tool that you can use to start making that forward motion. Because by the way, we all suffer with self-sabotage. Jenny, I know, including you, we all suffer with those things at different levels and different seasons of our life, right?
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, Jenny, you talk a lot about, I mean, well, obviously that's the title of the book, right? So self-sabotage. And one of the things that we always reference when it comes to that is, you know, we talk a lot about this imposter syndrome that people have typically when they're holding themselves up to a standard of someone else. But what I shared with our group not too long ago was that I myself, right, you know, I held myself to this imposter syndrome of who I used to be compared to who I am today. And so that in itself was definitely geared towards self-sabotage. And so I'm really interested in diving a little bit further around that topic, meaning that we hold ourselves to the standard of like the best time in our business, the best time in our life, when things were just going perfect, right? And then when we reach this place of trauma or setbacks or whatever it may be, then all of a sudden we're sitting there and we're gauging ourselves on, man, I used to be this person, so I must really suck now, or something's wrong with me, or why aren't people engaged with me like they were, you know, last month? All those things kind of creep in. And so sometimes it's big things, and then it can be these subtle things too. And I know you talk about that in the book as well.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. Sometimes the sabotage is because we rose to the top and then didn't maintain that and then fell back. And so we feel there's this, let's say, unprocessed emotion of failure that resonates every single, or vibrates rather, every time you go to achieve that again. And I always use the example, and you'd be shocked how many people did run for student council. But I use the example of like trying out for a cheerleading team or running for student council and not winning or not making it. Yep. And you know, when you're a teenager and you're running for something and you believe with that big heart of a teenager heart, right? Where you know it's going to happen and it doesn't happen. And so then years later, you're trying to build your business or sell your coaching or do the program that you signed up for, and you're not having any success, or you find you're dragging your feet on the stuff that's going to help you have success. And oftentimes it's that moment that still hasn't processed. It's that moment of failure, which you saw as failure, which is just gets really loud. So you start to run and all of a sudden there's this loud failure in the background. I call it's sort of like your unprocessed emotions. And everyone has a UPE score. It's my favorite thing, sharing with people what their UPE score is. But what that is how many unprocessed emotions do you have that have not yet been released, that are not yet processed, that are holding you back? Because if you can release your unprocessed emotions, which I do explain how to do in the book, if you can release your unprocessed emotions, everything gets easier.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
I thought, oh my gosh, I probably have, maybe 10. It was like 456.
Yeah. Tina, where'd you come up with 10? I count like 250 right on the surface. No, just kidding.
She was like, oh,
Absolutely.
Peter and I have heard the 400
quite a lot.
Most people have around 250.
Yeah.
I had close to 500. Ray Higdon's an open book. He always shares that he had like 1906 when we got started. And so some people have 5. Like some people just naturally process emotions well. And so those 5 will make a huge impact.
I think Shirley might have some unprocessed emotions here because Robert never shared with her your book. He's being very selfish.
You know what?
And here she is like, why haven't you shared this book with me?
Let me tell you. I heard someone say earlier, Christina, did you say this is an audio as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's going to be the trick. Kelly doesn't read as much as I do because of her busy schedule. So I'm going to tap her into the audiobook. I love you. And really, Kelly, it was because I was using the book to figure out some of my own sabotage, that was going on.
He was like, I was trying to do me first.
Yeah. Just to make sure that I was covered, based on some of your own traumas as well. So
like, hold on. She's
don't call me.
Don't call me out. All right, we got you.
Why is Kelly not on the show?
I know.
She has a lot to say.
We should pull her in. But that is so true. Kidding aside, with everything that we've been talking about, and that's one thing I do love as I dove into the book, and we all have stories that we can relate to. But again, I talk about some of the things even on the surface, right? One of the things, kind of everyone knows me as this personal branding coach. But really with personal branding, I always talk about the fact that the brand is you. And it's this alignment between mindset, heart set, and soul set, right? Your faith. And that's a big thing, Jennie. I know that you've got a lot to say about that. And what I love about Faith Over Fear, the event that you were just at and where we were all down there and where I picked up your book was, there's always been kind of this in business. We've had our business in this hand, we've had our faith and whatever that may be in this hand. And we've kind of kept those two buckets separate, right? And I'm finding out more and more over these last couple of years that I absolutely have to blend them together. And so do you want to can you just address a little bit of that on your transformation? Because I'm sure that you've also, through some of the events that you've done, catered to kind of the worldly business. And we aren't always putting our faith in front of us. As Ray Higdon always says, is our faith behind us kind of pushing us along? Or do we have God at the front pulling us?
Mm-hmm. So I always ask for God's assistance with all of my coaching clients. When we do one-on-one work, we always include prayer for best intention for clearing and identifying and healing. For sure. And I definitely do include God in my own business. And what I find with clients and with myself is that I could hear God more clearly when I released the emotions because the emotions are like noise. So it's like every time, let's just go back to the cheerleading example. You failed cheerleading tryouts or you didn't get, you didn't get what you were running from or for. And now you set a new goal. Well, your subconscious gets really loud. It's all panicky and fear-based. It's the fight or flight thing going on. Yeah. And when we're in fight or flight, it's just harder to hear God's quiet voice saying, hey, go this way. Hey, so you feel God's call and you reach for that thing and you trigger your fight or flight with the old emotions, with the unprocessed emotions. So if we can clear out the unprocessed emotions, clear out the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, the false beliefs, and step into what God says about us, then everything transforms, everything shifts. Just a personal example was that God was calling me to write a devotional for network marketers forever. I had it on my heart probably within the first 30 seconds before I even knew what a devotional was. When I first found out about network marketing, because I just stepped back into faith, I'd just been baptized, I was noticing all these connections. And so I had this devotional on my heart for like 8 or 9 years. And then I cleared my unprocessed emotions. And within 3 months, that book was written and published. And then like a few months after that, self-sabotage no more, same thing. And so just, sometimes we can hear God's call. We know what he wants us to do. Some of you don't. Some of you can't hear God's call or are listening, but aren't sure or whatever. But maybe you've been called to do something and you know it, but you're getting in your own way.
Yeah.
And so when we get the emotions out of the way and the false beliefs, you can step into and stand on what God says about you and follow your gifts and your path more easily. The emotions are kind of like anchors tied around your ankles. So you're trying to move forward. And I always say that I used to feel like I was chest deep in water, trying to run with like weights on my ankles. And like I was making some progress, right? You can move forward a little bit in the water, chest deep. But when you move up onto the sand, you can, and cut those anchors, you can move a lot more quickly and then get up on the sidewalk and then maybe put some rollerblades on. I don't know.
Wow. I love that analogy, actually. Wow.
Jennie, every time I listen to you, I get more out of the previous conversations that we've had. If you guys are not following her on social media and listening to, she put out content in Rake Makers all the time as well. But if you're not listening to her and following her, I get more and more out of the conversation every single time. And we've had our own conversations behind the scenes, but even just listening to how she's relating this story, I look back in my life, and when I was 17 years old, I did pageants, right? I did my local pageant, Miss BC, Miss Teen Canada, and something happened at Miss Teen Canada where politically I should have been moved to the top 3. I made top 7, but should have been moved to the top 3. But we found out later on that the organization couldn't afford to have a girl from BC win because they didn't have the money to fly me to events. So it was something completely out of my hand. It was an unfair thing that happened. And what I realized is that I was pre-programmed to life isn't fair. You're going to have to work really hard to work against life that isn't fair. And you're going to have to work harder than most people to even get your name in the ring with people. And I always kind of felt that piece of like, I'm going to have to work so hard. And so in that process, I burnt out all the time. And what Jennie taught me is when you let go of these emotions that have been trapped in your body from different experiences, maybe different lifetimes, right? Maybe different, and by that, I mean like generational, right? So like maybe that generational trauma has gone through your entire family, and there are things that are attached to you that are not yours to own, which was also the case for me, probably you too, Tina, that when you let that go, you get what you want. Like all of a sudden there's this veil that's lifted and everything becomes easy. And that was what I think the experience that I had with you and listening to the book, that was the most shocking thing to me, is like, I was because of my subconscious, I was putting these limits on myself, and I had this false narrative that was running through my life the whole time. And all of a sudden, when you just let go of that's not real, that's not what's happening every single day, that's not the opportunity in front of you, everything starts to flow differently. And that's why this is so imperative that people understand that sometimes, again, you need help, or you need to be able to recognize those little pieces of your life that have held you back so that you can overcome them and actually enjoy building business, actually enjoy having great relationships, enjoy bringing higher quality people into your life that you can trust, that you can love, that you can support without thinking they're going to stab you in the back because you had a previous experience of that, right?
So true.
And so many things you don't even know, right? Like there was one time she was like, this happened when you were like 5, and I was like, I don't remember that. And she let it go, and she's like, well, it's gone. Whatever it was gone. So there's things that you wouldn't even remember. Fortunately for Christina, she was able to remember those kind of things. But there were probably things even when you were younger, Christina, that you have blocked out. And I have done the same thing. I've blocked them out, when I was younger too, because there's only so much trauma that your body can handle before it starts.
So I want to speak to that, Tina, because you're making me sound more mysterious than I am. And so, I mean, really what we're doing is identifying old emotion that didn't process in the moment. And sometimes that looks like you were running with your brother and your brother smashed the lamp and you got blamed for it. You got in trouble for it. It wasn't fair. He betrayed you. He said it was you. Your parents didn't believe you. And so you might not remember the event, though lots of people do remember events like that. And it's those little events when you think back to when you're sharing with people what made you you. Like if you took a moment right now and just, or even after this, and just wrote down, what stories do I always tell about my childhood? Like, what was the thing that happened about my childhood? And if you can look back, those are usually the events where something got kind of stuck and didn't process. You don't have to remember the event. This is what is so cool about this process of releasing emotions. You don't actually have to verbalize it. You don't have to cry over it. You don't have to like rehash it. This is not therapy. And my background is in counseling. So I've done lots and lots of talk therapy. And why I love this particular method is it's kind of, for the most part, it's not emotional, which is so bizarre. Now, sometimes people cry when we release stuff, but I find that those are usually the people that think they're supposed to. Like they've kind of created in their mind, like, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be emotional.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes we do cry with release. It's natural. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up, that one of the coolest parts about this method is that I always say there's many doors to the same house. And this is a very simple door to healing.
So one thing I did by the way, that was perfect, Jennie. And I think that is important, right? Because everyone always assumes that it has to be something, either one that's just right out there, plain to see on the surface, or as you even just stated, they feel like their response should be attached with emotion and they should cry or whatever it may be. There's so many ways that you can connect with Jennie Potter across social media. Definitely check her out on Facebook and Instagram and other areas. Get her book. We've been talking about the book for a while, but on jenniepotter.com, where you can find a lot of useful information too. I know that you can download the alarm method, right? You talk a lot about that. So can you tell us just a little bit about the alarm method, what it is?
Yeah, awesome. So the alarm method is a very simple method that anyone can use right now, starting today, to clear out emotion that is bothering you. So most people know, like I used to always have this underlying feeling of guilt. So when I say, I just felt guilty about everything. If my husband didn't call, I'd be like, oh, is he mad at me? If, if I didn't talk to a friend, I'd think I did something wrong. When I was in elementary school, if the PA system went off, like the little beep before the principal talks, I would think, oh, I'm getting called down. I'm caught. But I hadn't done anything wrong. Like I was, when I went through the border, my face would go bright red, like I'd stolen something or was smuggling something. It's so funny. I always had this underlying feeling of guilt. And so other people will feel angry all the time, or irritable all the time, or embarrassed all the time, or like they're failing, or like they're not included, or like they're not respected, or like no one hears them. Okay, so you have a theme for your life. So whatever that theme is, don't assume everyone else has the same theme. I had underlying anger because I never wanted to acknowledge that I was ever angry. I would always be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No problem. You could like punch me in the face. I'd be like, it's fine. You had a hard day. Your childhood was difficult. Like even as a kid, it's not even a joke. Like I was like that. And it was because I never wanted to get mad. I had seen anger and I never wanted to display it myself. Well, all that happened was that I pushed down all of the anger so that I got to release it years later when I found this method. So if you have underlying anger or an underlying emotion, you can use this method to clear it. But also in the moment, if you're feeling, let's say, irritable, you can clear that emotion, or anxious. Okay, maybe you need to prospect today, reach out to a few people and ask them to check out your opportunity or product, and you feel very anxious about that. Okay, maybe you're backstage and you're about to go on and you feel really anxious. You can use this tool. So I'll walk you through it. Essentially, let's pretend you're procrastinating. Okay, let's pretend there's something you really need to do. If there's something you're thinking of, like you still haven't done your taxes, or you need to clean out a room that's bugging you or something, just write down the thing you've been avoiding and think about it. When you think about the fact that you haven't done it, that you need to do it, that you're wanting to do it, that you should do it. Should is often an indicator of a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's a different conversation for a different day. But when you think about that thing that you've been procrastinating about, how do you feel? So right now, just check in with yourself. How do you feel? Like, are you feeling, do you feel guilty?
Guilt, shame,
guilt?
right?
Mad at yourself, like, oh, what's wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, so what's the emotion? Because not everyone feels the same thing when they're like some people feel fear when they're procrastinating, like they're scared to do the thing. Some people feel guilt, some people feel shame, anger, irritation, self-abuse, like all kinds of different emotions come up. Whatever you're feeling, that's the awareness is the first piece. So just be aware. How am I feeling right now? What's the emotion I'm feeling right now? So the ALARM method is an acronym. So A is for awareness. So what are you feeling right now? Just have the awareness. Awareness is like 50% every time. Just understanding what's going on and why it's going on is such a big deal. So just awareness. The next thing you're going to want to do is location. So A is for awareness. The L in ALARM is for location. Where in your body are you feeling that emotion? So if you identified guilt, where in your body are you feeling guilt or anxiety or whatever that emotion is? So just notice, and you can even just like touch your stomach or touch your chest, wherever you're feeling it in the moment, just notice that. The next step, and this step is if you want to explore if there's past stuff coming up. So if the procrastination is because of something happened in the past, you can ask this simple question. Now you can skip this step, and I recommend skipping it if you're driving. I actually did this driving once and I broke down.
Little disclaimer.
So don't do this exercise driving, but you can ask yourself, when have I felt this before? This question, it might not bring up anything, or you might feel pressure so you can't think of anything. But if you're in a quiet moment and you feel this anxiety, you're about to reach out to 3 people to let them know about your opportunity, and you feel this in your gut, you feel this feeling in your gut, and you're going to just notice, when have I felt this before? And oftentimes you'll remember high school, or you'll remember like not having the same basketball shoes as everyone else and being made fun of, or you'll remember like being forced to like knock on doors and sell cookies, or you'll remember someone saying no
was
to
the Girl Scout.
I sold a lot of cookies.
I did too.
So you'll have a memory pop up. If you don't, no worries, just go to the next step. But if you do, just notice it. Be curious. Don't judge it. Don't dive into it. Don't get obsessed with it. Just notice like, whoa, basketball, okay? It just pops into your head. The next step is we're going to relax into that feeling and we're going to release it. So just relaxing instead of resisting is going to help you release the emotion. So just that alone, you can breathe into that area. So if you're feeling it in your stomach, you just breathe into your stomach, relax your stomach muscles. So yeah, if your chest feels heavy, you just notice that feeling of your chest and just relax your chest. Because what we actually do is we tense up and then we accidentally like hold on, right? What we resist persists. So the first step is just relaxing. And then we do a move, which I call the unpacking method. And we just literally go shoulder to wrist, and we just clear. So if you've identified anxiety in your tummy, you just with intention, you clear that anxiety, and clear that anxiety. And so that's just really simple. This is about intention. There's actually a reason why the shoulder to wrist works, but we won't get into it other than to say it works. So just do it. You'll feel things ease. And the last step in the alarm method, so it's awareness, location, ask the question, release. And then the last step is M, which is method. I mean, it's not method. It's mantra.
Mantra. Mhm.
Yeah. And so you're going to replace whatever that emotion was with a new mantra. So I am calm, I am peaceful, I'm in action, I'm proud, I feel good. Okay, but we want to just replace that old feeling with something new, something that we can stand on, something that we can speak to. So that's like in a nutshell, the alarm method. You can go to jenniepotter.com and download the alarm method. And of course it goes into detail in my book as well on like kind of step by step what it looks like and how to do it. But that's the most simple. I have other methods for releasing that are more efficient, especially if you're scoring in, like 250 unprocessed emotions. There's faster ways. Or 450.
Yeah, or 450.
Now, Jennie, you have just created a few different ways that people can use your services. Can you tell us a little bit about what you just launched?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I have a couple ways that you can work with me. Obviously, the book, and I have my podcast. And so those are really inexpensive ways to just do self-healing. But I also have a group coaching package, which starts next week. And you can do that's working with me for a year. And for over 12 months, we work on clearing any kind of
the dog needs to clear something out too.
I know. We need to. I've got puppies, so I'm just glad they're not fighting right now because they can be really loud. But anyway, so in the group, we're going to address really cool stuff like how do you feel about debt? Like even when I just say the word debt, where do you feel that in your body?
Everyone has a little bit of a pit in their stomach. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
Some people see debt as a way of serving them to grow bigger. And some people see debt as something that's keeping them down or it feels impossible or they can't clear it. Or even like, some people have like $100 in debt that's going to stress them out. Some people don't mind mortgage debt, but they can't handle like borrowing to, go to school debt or whatever. So what comes up for you around that word, and then we're going to clear it. And we clear it in a group, and each group session each month will use different skills. So you'll pick up skills to utilize at home during the month. There'll be homework. I have a workbook now. I'm so proud of this. This is like, I'm such a nerd with workbooks. I always love doing other people's workbooks. So I have this workbook too. You get that as part of the PDF version as part of joining the group. And we're just going to address weight loss. We're going to address energy, health, relationship blocks, love blocks, as Tina calls them. We're going to address, all kinds of stuff, the stuff that people write to me and say, hey, I'm sabotaging in my business. I'm sabotaging with my finances. I'm sabotaging with my weight. I'm sabotaging, I just had a lady reach out to me in the last couple of weeks. She messages me every day and she's like, I was stress eating every night. And ever since I read your book, I'm just not anymore. And she's down 40 pounds and just really shifted her mindset around and her energy and her emotion around food and stress. So it's really exciting. So that's my latest and greatest is my group offer. And I am very excited about that. And then of course, there's an opportunity if you work with me one-on-one, you also get to be a part of the group every month. So
now can they
awesome perk, Jennie? Like that's a killer perk for people to have.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like literally sitting here and, Jennie and I have worked through some stuff. And one of the things is that like I had this story with myself as I was evolving and growing in business that I would have to leave all these people behind. and that wasn't a safe. The story, my shadow work, the story that runs behind the scenes in my life is you're not safe, you're not in control. And so I like literally have these little post-it notes right beside my computer, because sometimes we have to shift our habits, and when we recognize the feeling, we're like, wait a second, it's this again. So it says the more you rise, the safer you are at the top of the mountain with other people, right? And then there's another one right beside it that says I am protected, because I went through this whole bout of hate in January, and I was like, oh my God, I feel all this energy coming at me. But we created a safe space where I felt like, okay, that projection is not mine to own, and it can actually bounce right off of you. So Jennie, do you want to kind of talk about like the windshield analogy that I really find, like I find that's so powerful?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Okay. So the windshield, that's if you feel like you're under attack. So a lot of times I work with people that are pretty high profile or very influential. And often when we are influential or we're showing up on social media, like my life's amazing. Join me.
Like we all do.
Yeah.
Right. And all of us know that, you know,
You have a perfect life like me. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a perfect life like me. Just sign right here. No,
Yeah,
For
right.
$4.95 a month.
but seriously, you know, on social media, you've got some people that are constantly complaining and saying what's wrong and where they were wronged and blaming and all that stuff. And then you've got other people that are like, I'm amazing, everything's great. But when you do that, when you take that positive route, there are going to be people that are triggered by your happiness. There are going to be people that are triggered by your success or the fact that you're telling everyone that you're successful. Oh, look at her. She's so blah. Okay. And so sometimes we'll get negative energy directed at us when we're being loud and we're showing up as, especially when we're showing up authentically. Okay. And so if you have, you know, I think it's Ray always says, if you have haters, you kind of know you've made it.
Right.
Right. If you have people that are openly slamming you or whatever, that you kind of know, well,
Or suing you.
Or suing you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can just imagine that you have a bubble around you, and that just like a windshield, how a windshield protects you from the bugs and the wind and the rain and the harsh weather and the cold or the heat, just like that windshield protects you. So like the rain beating off the windshield, if you imagine that, you also let sunlight in. You can also have clarity and see what's happening. And so what Christina was referring to is a tool that I gave her, which was to surround yourself with that bubble that acts as a windshield. So sunlight comes in, love comes in, but all the bugs and the negativity bounces off. And so you can picture that. If that's something for you that you're struggling with, is you feel like people are upset with you or mean to you or mad at you, or even if you have like one person in your life that's kind of shooting negativity at you, it does land. So if you're vulnerable, it does land. So it's good to have a conscious protection around you and intention to clear. I don't talk about it in my book, but you can also with that movement, you can also clear other people's energy.
Oh,
So if
interesting.
you have like exes or a best friend that, you know, doesn't like you anymore, or a difficult sibling, jealous friend, something like that, you can clear them too.
Wow. So, you know, we just were talking about this a few weeks ago in regards to haters, right? That was our topic. And you know, whether you're putting out negative energy or positive energy, you're going to receive some type of response to that negative response to that hate. People that, again, we talk about imposter syndrome, people that are just, you know, maybe jealous, maybe they don't understand, maybe they're in their own space of, again, we talk self-sabotage, where at that time they're like, well, I'm doing all the same things you are. Why is it that you have X, Y, Z, and I'm currently in this space? And so I love the fact that you're doing this work at a very deep level. I have a question. I mean, obviously, if someone wants to find out more, they can dive deep into your story. They can get your book and many other things. But I want people to understand you're not just a practitioner in all of these things. Like you yourself have been on this journey, right? Of self-discovery, and you had your own self-sabotage. Can you give us just maybe one small example or a sliver of your story, just based on the sake of time?
Yeah. So I definitely self-sabotaged for a lot of years. I mean, probably even before I was 14, but at 14, and this is kind of a heavy story to share, but I'll share it as lightly as I can. At 14, kind of the worst thing that can happen to you at a party at 14 happened to me. I was kind of pretty innocent, and I got taken advantage of. And on the Monday, the guy told everyone at school, and so I went from being like sweet Jennie to like, people calling me, like openly calling me like slut or whatever. And I never told anyone. I mean, probably my bestie knew, but I never told anyone, like no parents or teachers or anything like that, what happened. And what I did do, because I had been drinking, and so I blamed myself. And so what I did do was I labeled myself unworthy of love, unlovable, dirty, ruined, not the kind of girl that a good guy would date, go out with, that kind of thing. And so that started like over a decade of self-abuse, binge drinking, definitely like drugs, dating psychopaths, to put it lightly.
You become a magnet, right? You became a magnet to these things. Yeah.
Well, because that's what I believed I was worth. So I always say, like, on the first date, you kind of know everything. I had a friend who always used to say, you know everything about a guy and what your relationship will look like, or a girl, depending, when you go on that first date. So, if they're on the phone the whole time and texting and they're rude to the waitress and they don't, then you kind of know, well, that's how it's going to be. Yeah. They're going to be on their phone. People show you who they are. Even
that's
when
the 99 first dates.
Let's
just keep it that way, because that's it.
So, but the point is that a lot of people would go on that first date that maybe you went on and stayed, but other people would go on that first date and be like, oh no, I'm not going to date some guy who's on his phone the whole time, or date some girl that talks to the waiter like that. Like, I'm out. But if you don't believe you're worthy of love, or you don't believe you're worthy of being with someone amazing, then you'll just accept, well, this person likes me, so I'll stay with them because they like me. So, it's sort of like so I sabotaged a lot in myself, what I believed I was worthy of. And, of course I wasn't speaking that out, but that sabotage, of course, then bleeds into everything else. And so, and then you just keep making yourself right because you do the stupid thing. And then, and then you're like, see, I'm right. And just, it continues. Yeah. Well, so that was years of self-abuse, years of sabotage, in every department. And then I found affirmations, and then things started to shift. So I think that I wish I'd had this tool, my emotional release tool, like back then, because I probably could have sped up the healing quite a bit. There's pretty immediate transformation when you release old unprocessed emotion.
Would this be good, like, to give to a teenager to have? Because I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah.
I am so glad that I am not in school these days and during this time, because there would have been pictures and videos and stuff that, like, there's so much bullying in the schools these days that, I mean, I'm sure so many people are going through that. So would this be a good book to give to teenagers who have gone through something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's easy to listen to, right? And the book was written, like I've had lots of people say to me that it's the first book that they've read in 10 years or like read cover to cover because I wrote it so that it was simple. There's short, simple chapters. It's very easy to understand. I worked with a publisher so that we had something that was easy to read. And so it's probably why people read it more than once too, is because there's a lot packed in there, but it's just short and sweet. So yeah, absolutely super powerful for teenagers. I do work with teenagers, and they're easier and quicker to work with because there's not 40 years of unprocessed.
They only have like 5 or 6 emotions.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if you actually processed that in real time or had the tools to process that in real time?
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How powerful.
So true. Star, what are your thoughts behind this?
Super excited to check out your book. I haven't read it, so I really want to learn more about the techniques. I was talking to someone yesterday, and a lot of this is coming up for coaches in the online space because there's this huge shift with the economy, as we all know. There's a shift with like what social media looks like for them. So someone was saying, okay, well, I'm working on, we were talking about her funnel because I sell software. And she said that she did a launch, maybe a year ago where it was like, 26 people hopped in and, it was over $1,000 per sale. And it was really fun and exciting. So we have a lot of successful entrepreneurs, including myself, who were used to like having this huge amount of like success, bringing in money, bringing in these fun launches. And then now it's like, okay, what are we going to work on? So there's always this piece of strategy that we're focused on instead of looking at uncovering some of these blocks. So I'm super excited to check out your work.
Yeah, thank you. And sometimes the blocks are energetic, like just literally just there is an idea or an emotion around growth or next level. And I have seen people we've cleared and literally within an hour, they've texted me, OMG, just had 3 people reach out to me and ask me about my coaching. Or, Christina's video going viral is a really good example because it's like this tangible thing, right? Hey, Christina, we did a session. And then like the next day or like within a week, like
within a couple of days.
And then more leads, so sometimes it is energetic. And I want to say as well that a lot of people in this time, in this economy, are starting to put the filter on. It's hard to make money. People don't want to spend money right now. So coaches are coming to, and network marketers and entrepreneurs that work online and entrepreneurs in general are coming to the table with this filter on that says people don't want to spend money. People are having a tough time right now. The economy is really hard right now. And so if you have that mindset, you will attract that, which means all of a sudden people aren't reaching out. All of a sudden people aren't spending money. You're always going to make yourself right. And so there's always the tangible tools, which bring people in, Star, like that, you're commenting on like that tangible piece. And then there's like the energetic piece that we just don't see, that we often are our own worst enemies.
We are.
We're just blocking it.
I just raised the prices of some of my products, all of my products online. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to like increase my sales online and my Shopify store. And here I am, increasing, but I have to increase the prices due to, certain factors happening right now. Sure. So the first couple of days, everybody was buying like my cheaper line. And I was freaking out because I was telling myself like, they're not going to want to buy. And so I stopped thinking about that. And then all of a sudden that says like my line. I've been buying that for the past 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, as soon as you shift your focus, for sure.
Yeah.
And Jennie, you really
all you have to do is go to jenniepotter.com to get a hold of you, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And the other thing that, Jennie, you help me understand, not just in myself, but when I talk to other people and I'm receiving other information from people that are outside of me, is that we all see this world through our own specific filter. Right? We all have a filter that through our experience, through our upbringing, through our community of people around us, it's kind of like not being in an echo chamber, but always having people that maybe see things your way or don't see things your way. And so we have this filter that we all look through the world at and experience life that way. And when you release these emotions, then that filter lightens up. Like it goes from like really dark sunglasses to clear glass, you know,
Yes.
and it helps you see the world in the way that it truly is, which is energy, right? That the more we put out, the more, you know, you might have to change some of your prices on your products and evolve and adapt. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. That's part of the process. And yes, we can't ignore that there's a recession, right? Like this is part of life. This is part of a buying cycle. This is part of a financial cycle. However, we can come in with a lighter veil, a lighter filter, and be able to say, okay, where are the solutions here? What can we do to move forward here? What can we do to have a positive impact? How can we evolve and help people in this space? And where are those people buying? And then do our own market research to go create the result that we want instead of telling ourselves this false story that nobody's buying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Jennie, we could talk to you for hours. And so for those that don't mind, we're going to continue for the next 2-3 hours and have a little mastermind here. No, I'm kidding.
Christina might get up right at 1:59, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's right. But no, we really do appreciate you coming on. And you know, just like we've said all along, please connect with Jennie Potter. You can go to jenniepotter.com. For those that are actually listening, and I always forget to do this, but just on the podcast side, it's JENNIE Potter, POTTER.com, jenniepotter.com. Definitely get her book. I'm now going to get her book on audio for my wife, so I'm not beat up any longer. Yeah, but go to her website. You can actually start with just some free content, right? I mean, hopefully this show in itself was helpful. But you can go on, you can download the alarm method. It's a good place to start. And Jennie, we just thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate each and every one of you and just feel blessed to be in your world. So thanks for having me on.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.